Focus up and replace. And you ain't got time for a real one.
It has been a minute. Welcome back to another episode of the Ball Knowers podcast here on Ball Knowers Anonymous. We are starting off hot and my voice already cracked. We're all a little bit addicted to something here. For me, it's about knowing ball. We're going to get right into it. We have a special guest today. We are looking at YankeesFiles.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having me. I know the deal is Ball Knowers Anonymous, but I feel like we're two people who are known for knowing ball.
That was good. Was that the joke you were telling me about that you were going to tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Yo, on your soundboard thing, do you have like a little cheering thing or something like that? Nice. There you go. You deserve that. Oh, man. It has
goes on
been.
for way too long.
It does go on for way too long. We just sat there for a second, just staring at the camera. But that's all right. It has been a long time since I've recorded a podcast. We're going to talk about a few different things today. We can already see it on screen. First baseman receiving, question mark. Yeah, questionable name for it. Of course, we will talk about the Yankees because we are both Yankees fans. That'll actually be like 95% of the discussion. Speaking of the Yankees, Will, how do we feel about them right now?
They're good, man. We're still talking about the team with like the second best run differential in the American League, despite the fact that they've played most of their season without like guys who have been Cy Young contenders and MVPs. And the fact that they got some guys, namely Jazz Chisholm, who they expected to be a lot better this year than they have been. And while he still provided good value from defense and base running, like they've really needed offense. And the fact that they have played as well as they have in the absence of Aaron Judge, I think is a massive credit to the team and to the pitching staff in particular. I'm glad that Cody Bellinger is coming back today. I'm excited for Aaron Judge to come back. I'm disheartened by some of the other injuries that have happened in recent days, but at whatever full strength would mean to this team today, so like call that having Bellinger and Judge and Fried, no Weathers, no Stanton. I think they're clearly the best team in the American League. I think the division is still within reach, although it would be a challenge. The team's good, man.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that if you were on Twitter, or Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. The Yankees just won 5 games in a row, and then they faced the second best pitcher in the American League yesterday in Dylan Cease, who of course pitched like he's the second best pitcher in the American League. Almost came back and won, but everybody on Twitter, of course the season is over. It's over every time we lose a game. It's actually been over 50, how many different times have we lost? What is it, 58, 60, 60? What?
Yeah, like
what's our record, man?
Yeah, it's like 56 times, yeah.
56 times the season has been over, and we keep on moving. I think, it's a testament to how good the Yankees' depth has been this season. I mean, you mentioned all those different injuries, and still somehow they keep winning. Even if it's only at a slightly above 500 pace, they're still winning. I mean, you have other teams. Let's be honest, if the Rays lost Junior Caminero tomorrow, yeah.
Be over.
Yeah, no, literally it'd be done.
And also, like, it's not just if the Rays lost Junior Caminero tomorrow. The Yankees have lost at different times during the season the guys who were their 3 best hitters last year. They have lost the top or 3 of the top 4 guys in their rotation. It's not just if the Rays lost Junior Caminero tomorrow. It's if the Rays lost Caminero, Diaz, and Aranda, and if they also at various points during the season were without McClanahan, Rasmussen, and Martinez. Like it's almost impossible to fathom that the Yankees have been this good given the level of injuries that they've faced.
No, man, the Rays would be fine if they lost all those guys because, they have Chandler Simpson and speed doesn't slump.
Never slumps.
Speed never slumps. I still can't believe, not to go too deep into this topic, literally all I said to Fuzzy one day was like, oh, man, you're not going to fall for this again, right? Blocked. That's not even that bad.
I mean, it's
so
less
much worse.
Offensive than things I've said to him, probably.
Speaking of Yankees pitching, I didn't really mention the bullpen yet, but that is something I wanted to talk about today. And we have this beautiful Savant page in the middle of our screen here that I sent you as well to see if you could guess who it is. I kept it fairly easy, I think, probably.
So it's one of two guys.
Okay. See if you can get it first try.
Oh gosh. So I think everyone would imagine that the guys that I'm stuck between here are Brent Hedrick and Dave Bednar. And I'm thinking through it, and my bet is that splitters are classified as off speed, not as
I'd like to
split
think
finger
so.
fastballs.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
And as a result, I think Bednar's off speed run value would be higher. So I think this has to be Brent Hedrick.
This is good head Brent Hedrick. Yes, you can give yourself a round of applause if you want. Oh my god, my cat just attacked me. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and the bullpen, it's a massive talking point every single time the Yankees lose a game because for whatever reason, I really couldn't tell you. I mean, they could go 30 straight games of one-run ball, but the moment the Yankees lose one game and the bullpen gives up 2 runs, it's the worst pen in the league. Dude, this pen is nasty.
Yeah, the pen is very, very good. And I think we should all be very pleased with the performance that they've gotten from the bullpen. I think Matt Blake deserves a ton of credit. The fact that people were asking in April why Paul Blackburn is on the team and he's now, one of the most reliable relievers is a credit to what the Yankees have been able to do now for like going on a decade with bullpen arms. I will say, I share the kind of confusion that people have about why the Yankees didn't add any bullpen arms at the deadline. I think it was weird. They've added bullpen arms basically every year at the deadline. My hypothesis is that guys were just too expensive. Like, say what you want about Marcelo Meyer. Eric Miller doesn't seem to me to merit fetching a guy who was, a top 20 prospect going into last year and who's still 23 years old. So I think, frankly, the prices were crazy and the Yankees weren't very interested in paying them. Do I think that maybe they would have handled the Luis Garcia deal differently if they had been able to predict that better? Maybe. And then maybe they would have more guys or have brought someone in. I don't know. But I think there are lots of reasons to be confident in this bullpen. We may see them add Ryan Weathers to it once he's healthy again. We may see them add Clark Schmidt to it once he's healthy again. And that transition is not automatic, but I think we should be nothing but pleased with what we've gotten from the pen so far. And maybe there's more hope than we'd like involved in, seeing it continue to go that way. But people do not talk about the bullpen in a way that's consistent with the results it's gotten. Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me at all. One thing I'd be interested to get your opinion on, you mentioned Ryan Weathers in the pen or Clark Schmidt in the pen. Of course, this is all assuming health because Ryan Weathers has gone down as of yesterday's game, pitched 3 innings, and then was it forearm tightness, I believe it was?
Forearm tightness.
Yeah. I always thought Will Warren would be a solid bullpen piece for the sole reason that he will start a game throwing 96, and then by the 4th inning, he's throwing 92. So just send him out there for 1 inning, giving 100%, and get out of there.
Yeah, I think Will Warren would be a fine addition to the bullpen. I don't know that I'd, immediately slot him into high leverage, but as a middle innings guy where you say, just go out and try to max out your stuff, whether it's for, 6 outs or 4 outs or 3 outs, like that seems like something he should be very capable of. Just go out there and try to get whiffs. I think he would be really effective in that role. I don't think it's where he's most valuable long-term because I would say over the last 2 years, his best quality has just been availability. Will Warren has taken the ball every fifth day at a rate that no other Yankee starter has in the last 2 years. So I guess with the exception of Cam since he was called up. But yeah, I think Warren would be effective in that role, especially in, a four-man rotation playoff situation. And if they want to get creative and use an extra position player, having a guy who's built up to throw a ton of innings and can, save the bullpen if need be is also a nice quality that he would bring.
I really think he's underappreciated, man. I mean, and I think the rest of the Yankees rotation being as godly as it can be really skews what people think of Will Warren. Because he could be, let's be honest, he's probably a 3-starter on another team. Maybe three's jumping it a little bit, but he's just a steady, like you said, every fifth day he's there ready to go. He's going to give you a 4 ERA, which, whatever, that's fine. And you're going to get 150, 160 innings every year. I mean, like you said, for a team that for some reason every year the entire starting five goes down, not the entire starting five, but feels like it goes down every single year. Like, that's incredibly valuable. And that's why whenever people were saying, oh, the Yankees, they really wouldn't trade Will Warren for Adrian Morejon. No, absolutely not. That's insane.
I'm totally with you. I think you're exactly right that the Yankees have had such good fortune and such good performance with pitching this year that people have developed the expectation that it should be an ace on the mound every fifth day. And Will Warren isn't an ace, but he's clearly a major league starter. And he's probably a pretty solid one. And I think we saw stretches from him this year when he was really, really good. And that ceiling exists for him. Absolutely. So I completely agree with you. He is available. He is reliable. He generally will keep you in the game. And from your fifth starter, what you want is volume and not to blow up. And generally, he provides that. So I think people definitely don't appreciate him. And for a guy with 3.5 years of control left, 4.5 years of control, 4.5.
Yeah, we got him for a while.
Yeah, he's just a very valuable piece to have.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into our questions for this podcast. It's actually just one good question from everybody's favorite Yankees shill. No, not you. We're talking about spreadsheet enjoyer at Yankee Stats. He asked us, and by us, I mean me, because he didn't know you were going to be on this. What do we think of the new first baseman receiving stats? Let's take a peek at them. So far this year, Alec Burleson has 7 receiving OAA. He is the best in the league at that. Files, man, what's your thoughts on this new data we have at our expense?
So I think there are a number of different elements that it's worth touching on here. The first is you've probably seen some threads where people pull out 1 or 2 individual plays and go, this is how it's calculated? That's ridiculous. And I think for any stat, you can do that. For example, like bloops that land right in between the second baseman and right fielder have really high xwOBAs, even though you probably shouldn't hit the ball like 72 miles an hour. So, every model has challenges like that. But my first reaction to it, and I think the great Tom Tango has been posting about this, is if you look at the life of the stat, which is since 2021, and you just see who has the highest receiving OAA. Okay, well, Matt Olson is at the top. I think that makes a lot of sense. Paul Goldschmidt's in the top 10. Freddie Freeman's in the top 5. Anthony Rizzo, that was split years. But if we go to all years, it's like exactly the people you'd expect because there's Freeman, Olson, Christian Walker, Yuli Gurriel, Rizzo, like Paul Goldschmidt's 11th. The stat seems to be doing a pretty good job of matching what the baseball world feels like it's observed from quality defensive first baseman. So that's the first thing. Like, I think the model's probably pretty decent. The second thing I'll say is this feels like an important part of a first baseman's job. And to the extent that you see people talking about positional adjustments and positions that may be underappreciated by a stat like WAR, well, now we can incorporate more of what the first baseman does and how he impacts the play into into our analysis of that guy's performance. There are some funny things about it. Like, it seems to be the case that if an infielder makes a great play and a bad throw, but the first baseman scoops it, the first baseman could get, 75% of an out for the scoop, and the infielder could get 75% of an out for getting to the ball and making the throw. So it's weird to me that you can get to multiple outs on the same play where only one out is recorded. And it sounds like that's something that they're going to be addressing, is like, what is the sum total of value that each player can add or subtract in a given play? Because you do have to kind of consider those things together. The last thing I'll say is I'm going to use this stat for evil, because you can, if you go to the StatCast leaderboard, you can filter on any individual first baseman and you can see all of their plays. And know that when someone says, wow, Luis Garcia really should have picked that, I'm going to find the play and I'm going to see that Jose Caballero made him a throw that only had a 30% chance of being scooped into an out. And I'm going to blame Jose Caballero. And I didn't pick Jose Caballero for any particular reason. Of course I did. But no, I think like catch probability, like the rest of outs above average, it will be very easy to use individual plays here for evil, but our focus should be on the aggregate result. And it seems like it's doing a pretty good job there. And I think that's about what I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's just like anything else in baseball. If you look at it at a one sample size, you're going to look like a moron. But if you take the entirety of a person's season when it comes to, receiving OAA, still a crazy name, it'll look more like what you expect it to look like. People do this all the time. A player strikes out like, oh, that player's terrible. It's like, well, yeah. The player misses one catch, oh, this player's terrible. Well, no, the entirety of the statistic says this or says that, whatever.
And I think the other thing, that's actually a really good point you make, Ken. And the thing I would say in relation to that is there's this notion among Jorge Posada and people who think like him that modern stats,
watch it now,
reward bad things. Like, everyone talks about the guy who hits 200 and strikes out 250 times a year and hits 30 home runs and gets paid, $50 million a year. First of all, that player doesn't exist.
Not a real person.
Like, that is the biggest straw man in baseball discourse. Second, though, a good player can do a bad thing. And I think that is like really missing from the way that people talk about and think about stats. Like, people always like to post PCA missing a routine catch. It's like, okay, sure, yes, he did that. Have you seen all the rest of the defense he played this year?
Right.
Do you like, is that one thing somehow invalidating for him being the best center fielder on the planet? And it's like, no, and I honestly think this started when people started to say that WAR was just made so that Mike Trout would look good.
Oh, that's not why.
There's this notion that like, there's this group of players that this, conspiracy cabal of baseball people or agents or whoever want you to believe are good. So we have to make up all these stats to say those guys are good. No, who would have had a great ex-WOBA? Ted Williams. Like, all these stats are just us better able to quantify that the things we always thought were good were good. And I think that's something that people miss a lot about what these stats mean and how they're used and how they come to be.
I believe it was Ted Williams who famously said, "We're going to hit the ball hard and we're going to hit it in the air."
That's right.
It's just this point has been driven home so many different times. So try to not go too deep into it. It's just when you're growing up, you're taught to hit the baseball hard. But if we say that ball had a 105 mile per hour exit velocity, suddenly we're the worst people on the planet.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this whole time, back to first baseman receiving, I've had
Please,
the
yes.
2024 numbers pulled up. And the reason I've had the 2024 numbers pulled up is because Mr. Spreadsheet Enjoyer, Mr. Yankee Stats, the biggest Anthony Rizzo defender I think I've ever seen in my life outside of that one Twitter account who I won't name. I'll let you think about who I'm talking about there.
I think I know.
All of 2024, as terrible as Anthony Rizzo was, he was still on my ass about, oh, but he's so good at catching, he's so good at scoops, he saves so many outs from this and that. And you know what? He might have been right.
It turns out
He
was
might
right.
have been right.
Yeah.
He was third on the leaderboard with 4 receiving outs above average, just behind, weirdly enough, Pete Alonso. And
Yeah, it turns
Nolan
out Pete
Chanuel,
Alonso is pretty good at this.
which is weird.
That
You wouldn't
was-
think that.
Yeah, if there was any kind of surprising output of this stat to me, it was that Pete Alonso is very good at this because, I mean, obviously he doesn't move great. I assume he doesn't get to a lot of baseballs, but this is something he's quite good at. And I think that might be kind of the textbook case of how things like this can uncover value that we maybe didn't know existed. That was the simplest example of that. If you think about the arc of like sabermetrics, is just the shift from batting average to on base percentage, where people realize that a guy who hits 300 but gets out 65% of the time is not better than a guy who hits 250 and gets out 60% of the time. Like the 400 on base is better than the 350.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is going to be another one of those situations when it comes to evaluating first base defenses. Are there things we were missing before that this is now uncovering for us? And how does it change the way we think about the value and profile of certain players? And Alonso, at least for me, was kind of the poster child for that with this stat.
Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, we've always, well, I don't know if you've always said it, but I feel like people in general have always said the most important thing you can do as a first baseman is just catch the ball.
Yep.
But me in 2024, not having this stat to look at, all I saw was the fact that Anthony Rizzo couldn't move left or right more than 1 foot. And so I was calling for his bat and his glove to be off the team at any means necessary, not realizing just how valuable either his ability to scoop the ball or it's just off the bounce. But don't really know. I guess there's a difference between scoop and off the bounce, because his off the bounce, he has a 1.2 score there, but then scoops, it's just 0.1. So I'd have to look at some of the plays there to see what they're calling the difference is. I'm assuming the bounce is
It
just a
appears
bigger
to be
bounce.
The difference in distance from the base that the ball bounces.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have never actually found the value in that because there's nothing to tell us that value. And I feel like this is a terrible thing for an analytics person to say out loud, because this is where the eye test people are going to be like, see, you just could never see it. You need your data in order to ever have any thought ever. Oh, okay. Anyways.
Well, I think there are a couple things there. The first is we obviously have inclinations about players and plays and gut reactions. What something like this does, first of all, is like every player and every ball and every movement is tracked on every play. So given that this data exists, we should use it. And certainly teams have been. Like, I'm sure teams have access to that kind of data and can model with it before it just goes public on Savant. So that's the first thing to say. Second is there are plenty of things in baseball that we don't have StatCast measurements for that you have to make judgment calls about. And you just want to be armed with the most possible information to inform the opinion that you have. And I think, as I just discussed, like before we had this, I would have said Pete Alonso is probably pretty bad defensively at first base. It turns out there was a quality of his that I was underrating. What I would wonder to those same people that you're talking about, what I would ask them is, okay, did you share my opinion of Pete Alonso last week? If so, how has your opinion changed now that you have this new information? Because what I bet is that those people would say, those stats are BS, use your eyes. And that inflexibility and lack of curiosity is the thing that dooms the anti-analytics person, because there are things you can learn. And that was kind of how I became someone who's more interested in advanced stats. Is there are things you can learn, and these models have, descriptive power and in some cases real predictive power. And if I want to be right more often about what I'm seeing on a baseball field and what I expect to see tomorrow on a baseball field, I want to have all that information available to me.
Yep, and that actually, goes into one of my questions I planned on asking you today, and something I plan on asking any guest that comes on to the Ball Knowers podcast here. Everybody has a moment or something where they say, maybe that stat doesn't really matter much. Maybe I should look deeper. So my question to you would be, what you kind of just answered, what happened in your baseball watching life that made you say, wait a minute, I should look at some other stats?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if there was like one radicalizing moment for me, but I was obviously tapped into the Miggy versus Trout MVP situation, which was kind of when WAR took the center stage for a lot of people for the first time. So I was paying attention to that, and that had me thinking about things like the value of defense and things like the value of base running and things like if winning the batting title really matters. And a lot of my favorite players historically, whether this is by chance or whether it was like written in the stars, have been, guys who hit for decent power and get on base decently well. And it probably wasn't until I would say like 2017 to 19 range that I really started to get into the more advanced stats. Like I was pretty strongly a Baseball Reference guy before that. And that's where I kind of got into Fangraphs. And then honestly, the availability of the StatCast metrics really pulled me in. And I think a lot of that has to do with I played golf growing up. I still play golf. And in golf, TrackMan was like a revolution. Having the radar technology to tell you everything you could possibly want to know about your swing and its path and its speed and the ball flight and its speed and its path and its spin and all of that. Like I saw how helpful that was to my game and to my swing to be able to know those things and work on those things and see how, if I tinker with this, how do my numbers change and what does that mean? And I'm a little bit surprised that it was so embraced in golf in a way that it's kind of been rejected, at least by a lot of traditionalists in baseball. And in golf, it showed us a lot of things that we didn't know before. And once I was able to start seeing those metrics in baseball, I think I was familiar to them, or I was familiar with them. I was open to them, from my experience with them in golf. And I thought that they were really kind of illuminating. It is interesting to see. And the other thing I'll say is they kind of prove themselves. Balls hit harder than 95 miles an hour are a lot more successful in their results than balls hit slower than 85 miles an hour. That sounds like a tautology, but it's true. And that's the kind of thing that is one of the underpinnings of like the ex-WOBA model. And we see that the ex-WOBA model works really well at predicting WOBA, which is what it's supposed to do. And, a lot of the inputs of WAR, I think I could kind of philosophically get on board with. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of the availability of the StatCast metrics, my curiosity about the game and how I could know more about it and be a smarter fan and be right more often. And then also just being curious about the statistical models and what they say, and learning that, like, oh, these are describing things that I actually think have inherent value. I like when a guy has good plate discipline and hits the ball hard when he hits it. Like, oh, then Xwoba is probably doing a pretty good job describing the type of player I might be interested in. Or even something as simple as like outs above average with catch probability. Like, yeah, diving catches look cool, but sometimes you make a diving catch because you weren't fast enough or you didn't get a good enough jump to get there on your feet. And we just have too much information to ignore it, I think, is really what it comes down to. And if you want to have as good a sense as possible of what's going on, and you want to make it as likely as possible that you'll be right about what's going to happen the next day, there's no reason not to use all this information.
Hell yeah, love that. And
and it's free.
I was about to say
all of it is free.
One thing that you said there, just how available it is. I mean, if you put a dollar amount on how much money it costs for any person to look at this data, what do you think that dollar amount would be?
You know, Ken, it's a hard question, and it's one that I've really grappled with, but I've come to the conclusion that all of these stats are free and therefore cost $0.00.
That's incredible. That, you know,
it's
that
revolutionary.
That type of answer might get you blocked by all right, and anyways. So yeah, no, that's a fun answer coming from golf with all that data. Would have never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I only just started golfing about a year ago, so I guess, still hit it further than you though. Anyways,
yeah, Ken, what'd you shoot the other day?
94.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. But no, this question was actually posed to me well over a year ago by our good friend at Duffy Sports.
Legend.
Shout out Matt.
He asked, are both lovely people.
Oh, you've met them?
I have.
Oh, nice. I need to meet more people.
Yeah, you should.
I remember, like, 2022, I used to be deep in, like, the video game streaming side of things. Went to a TwitchCon for the first time and met, like, 20 of my online friends that I've never seen before. Probably coolest experience of my life so far.
Were they taller or shorter than you expected on average?
I kind of already knew most of their heights, so, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would have been a great question if I didn't already know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Matt asked me this question well over a year ago, and I never got around to answering it. And I was like, I'm going to use his question on other people. Now, Matt, to answer your question, my path to being a quote ball knower. It's so fun to call yourself a ball knower because it pisses people off so much. Like every time.
It's funny because it doesn't seem like the type of thing that you should say about yourself. It seems like the kind of title that someone else should have to bestow on you, but it makes people so mad if you say it about yourself that it's worth it.
Dude, I would not get the engagement that I do if my name was just Kin on Twitter.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
Kin knows ball. Suddenly everyone's in the replies like, Kin does not know ball. Kin knows nothing. You do not know ball, idiot. Anyways, a while back, probably 2020, 2021, I was super getting back into baseball again. I was kind of back into it in 2019 because Glaber was my favorite player. But I was super back in like 2020, 2021. And there was a guy on Twitter who defended Gary Sanchez with his life. Everybody knows this guy. No, not you.
Oh.
Everybody knows this guy. I
know who you're talking about.
I actually met this guy.
Wow.
Funny enough, there was one day I was supposed to go to, we're talking about Gary Sanchez, RBW, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Famously cool guy. But yeah, no, there was a day I was supposed to go to a baseball game with my friend. He backed out. It was like 3 or 4 hours before the game. So I just DM'd him. I was like, dude, I know you'll go. Like, and yeah, he ended up going. We met. Pretty cool guy. He bought me a drink. But But yeah, there was him always defending Gary Sanchez on Twitter, and I was still very much a casual at the time. So all I see is everyone just calling him every mean name in the book as he's talking good things about Gary Sanchez. And the more he would post about expected data and other stuff like that, I'd be like, what the hell is he talking about? And it was also around this time that I started following Ryan Garcia, who also taps into a lot more of the expected data and whatnot. And so one day I just realized, I was like, I sound like all these people that, what's the nicest way to put it? Just, aren't right very often.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to sound like those people anymore. And I attribute a lot of my getting into analytics to Gary Sanchez RBW, which is going to sound crazy to some people because of his other things that have happened on the app of Twitter. Dude, 2021 was a great time. Even before that, too. I know I heard he was crazier before that, but I don't know. I wasn't around for those days. Yeah, that's how I got here. I followed Gary Sanchez RBW.
Hey, we all have different paths.
Oh, I love that. Another person I wanted to talk about, back to baseball. I want to talk about Garrett Cole.
Yeah, dude.
Who could have ever imagined? Oh, I lost you because I switched to my web browser. All right, we'll get him back in a second here. Who could have ever imagined that coming off of Tommy John surgery, Garrett Cole would be as good as he's been? I posted on the good old Ball Knowers Anonymous X page the other day. If you're not following that already, that's at Ball Knowers Anon. If you're not following Yankees Files, that's at Yankees Files. You should follow both of those accounts. Garrett Cole, in his last 9 starts, 2.45 ERA, 2.42 FIP, striking out over 30% of batters. Well, he hasn't done that since 2022.
Yeah, it's the best version of Garrett Cole we've seen in a long time. I've been so encouraged by his four-seamer. Like the fact that not only is the velo there for a guy who's 35, 36 years old and coming off Tommy John surgery, but the ride on his fastball has been like really, really, really good in his last few starts. Like we've seen him get up to like that, like 18 vertical and 10 horizontal area, which is crazy. It's so exciting to me. And he's not walking anyone. He's striking out everyone he looks at. I think like there are still concerns you might have about his profile, namely that people still square him up with decent frequency. Like when he gets hit pretty hard. And even though the whiffs have been up recently, they're still kind of down for the whole season. So I'm not saying he's perfect, but I am saying this is better than I ever imagined it would be for Garrett Cole's return from Tommy John. And these last, what did you say, 9 starts have been just like off the charts, amazing, beautiful. Like you would think they were painted by Monet or something. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. So speaking of, you mentioned not walking people. In those last 9 starts, he has a 26K minus walk rate, which is also his best since the 2022 season, where he should have arguably won Cy Young.
Yeah, 21 and 22, man.
He was something else. He really was.
I hate Robbie Ray so much.
If I told you,
putting that out there,
if I told you that Garrett Cole would have the same average fastball velocity this year as he did in 2023, what kind of mean names would you call me?
I was so publicly wrong about Garrett Cole. I don't know if you encountered that, but like it was probably right before this stretch of starts that we're talking about. I was like, look, the fastball isn't doing the things we want it to do, and he's not getting swings and misses, and he's getting hit super hard. And, basically my message was like, Garrett Cole really isn't Garrett Cole anymore, and that's okay, but like, we're just going to have to live with that. And then every successive start since then, Garrett Cole has made me look like the stupidest person on the planet. And I am so happy about it. But like, man, yeah, I doubted him and I shouldn't have. But at the same time, I can't believe he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I expected Garrett Cole to be a solid pitcher because he's Garrett Cole. Like if you were to tell me, hey, Garrett Cole had a, I don't know, 3.6 ERA and like a 3.8 FIP this year, I'd be like, all right, cool, yeah, he came back, did pretty solid. You know, it's kind of what I expected from him. Now he's been something else, especially in the past 2 months or so. Something you just said there, you're so happy that you're wrong about it. You know who's never happy to be wrong?
The boomers.
The boomers. The boomers. The doomers. The Trent Grisham is terrible people. Like, they're always so mad whenever players that they hate do good.
There's a large group of people who would rather be right that a player is bad than have that player succeed.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because like those people are rooting against the team that they ostensibly are fans of. And I cannot get on board with that. I think it's really bad and really dumb.
It's very rare that you'll ever see me make any sort of prediction that's like, oh, I predict this guy on my favorite team to be bad. Now, of course, I'll voice my concerns. Same way you voice your concerns about Garrett Cole early in the year. Same way you voice your concerns about Anthony Volpe in 2024 to start the year, which ultimately
got so mad.
Ended up being very right, unfortunately.
And it's funny because all those people who were furious at me for saying in early 2024 that Anthony Volpe's offensive performance was mostly smoke and mirrors and being right are the people who were then furious at me for defending him this year. It's like,
yeah. It doesn't make sense, man. I like to make predictions about players on my team that are generally positive when everyone else is feeling generally negative about them, and I enjoy being right in a positive way for my baseball team. But
so can I say a prediction or an observation that I think is going to make people angry, potentially people who think the same way that we do?
Oh no. If I should have had like a page ready that's just full screen you for this, but I don't. So we'll just pretend that it's zoomed in on you.
So in like, mid to late July, I suggested that if George Lombard Jr. were called up, he probably would not be that much more valuable on a WAR per plate appearance basis than Anthony Volpe.
Oh no.
Anthony Volpe had 1.1 Fangraphs WAR and a 290 xWOBA in 194 plate appearances. George Lombard has 62 plate appearances. So if we tripled that, that would be 186. So basically a third of the playing time. He has a 299 xWOBA and 0.4 Fangraphs WAR. So that, of course, would go to 1.2. He also has a 351 batting average on balls in play, which is not going to sustain. What George Lombard did for the first week and a half, where his xWOBA was around 350, was really exciting. Turns out it's hard to be 21 and facing mostly same-handed major league pitching. I don't mean to say that there's anything wrong with what George Lombard has done. I think he's been terrific, or that we should be existentially concerned about George Lombard's career, 62 plate appearances into it. I just think it's hard to be a 21-year-old shortstop for the Yankees playing every day in a pennant race. And I think he did not have a ton of minor league experience, and that Major League Baseball is hard, and that Anthony Volpe was having a pretty good year on a rate basis. So people, including a certain Jake, were trying to victory lap that take already, and it's turning out that I'm looking correct. And I'd love for Lombard to go on another tear and prove me wrong. But the reality with George Lombard, as far as I'm concerned, is I like his swing decisions generally, but he's being exposed for having some swing and miss, especially against same-handed fastballs up in the zone. And he's seen a lot of those. he still doesn't have crazy game power. We've seen him barrel a few balls. We've seen him, hit a ball out. But at the same time, his average exit velo, I think, is like in the mid 80s. And a lot of his offensive production was, the result of a really good run of BABIP. And that's fine. He's a completely fine player, even without all those things, and appears to have a nice platform for himself to build on and develop and, be successful, particularly, or obviously with defense and base running, we've already seen that, but additionally, offensively in the major leagues. But like the notion that he was going to be this immediate major upgrade, I was always skeptical, and it is looking like I had reason to be.
Yeah, and I can't wait to edit that down to make you look like such an asshole.
Yep, and I knew that would happen. And these things, this is what we do when we put takes on the internet.
No, and the thing is, I mean, I agree with most of it. One thing in particular is I've seen a few different accounts posting all of the inside out swings that he's taking, or the balls to right field that are not hit particularly hard, that are falling for hits. I hate to say it, guys. That's a bad thing. Yeah. It's a good thing that the results are there, but it's bad that we're getting that contact over and over again, because as we've seen in the past, that type of stuff does not last over
a guy
a
who
whole
strikes
season.
out 27% of the time, which George Lombard does right now, can't actually create value offensively just trying to poke singles to right field. He can't. And it may be fine that he can't. It may be fine that that's what he can do offensively at this age and this level of experience. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but like the game power gains that we saw him make in the minor leagues this year were largely due to pulling the ball in the air. Because when you don't have crazy power, that is where your slug comes from. And we have not seen that, with the exception of the home run he hit, to this point at the major league level. Particularly now that the strikeouts are going up, the way for him to be productive offensively is to lean into the things that will allow him to slug. And this was the same thing that we said of Anthony Volpe, who slugged some in the minors, not from spraying the ball to all fields. And again, Lombard has done some very good things. I don't mean to detract from any of that, but poking singles to right field when you're a 9% walk, 27% strikeout guy is actually not a path to offensive productivity.
Yeah, and I was going to bring up the same thing you just did. What led to him having a lot more offensive success in the minors was pulling fly balls. I have it pulled up on my phone. Pull air percentage in AAA this season was 23.2%. So far in the majors, his pulled air percentage is just 7.7%. And like I said, that's just not how you're going to maximize your power. We've learned from so many different players just throughout the entirety of baseball, really, that if you aren't Aaron Judge or Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani or someone who has a ton of power, you have to pull the ball. You have to be Isaac Paredes. You have to be...
Maybe I'm aging myself now, but like, I think that the canonical, like, just pull the ball Yankee is Curtis Granderson. Like, he had 20 homer power before showing up, and then he had 2 40 homer seasons as a Yankee. Why do you think that was? Do you think that's because he was poking the ball to left field? Because it wasn't. How did Brett Gardner have do you have a 25 home run season?
I think 28 is the number you're looking for.
Yeah, he didn't do that by hitting the ball to left field. This is a tale as old as time, truly. Before we ever had metrics to quantify this stuff, guys were succeeding because of pulling the ball in the air. And as Joey Votto was discussing on Twitter and on Jeff Passan's podcast earlier this week or last week or whatever it was, like, it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, you often can't replicate whatever you would get from trying to optimize for pulled fly balls from some composite of other results. And that is something that it's hard for people to remember sometimes. So I'm extremely pleased with what we've gotten from Lombard. It has hinged on some ball and play luck, but you know the thing about ball and play luck, once you have it, you have it. They can't take those hits away retroactively. It might not be sustainable, but they do count.
Yeah, all this to say, I also like Lombard. Just based on the premise of he makes good swing decisions, and he has the pulled fly ball pop when he's doing it. Obviously, we haven't seen a ton of that yet, but only 62 plate appearances. We can get to more of that. We are at 50 minutes, just about ready to almost wrap this up. One last person to talk about, Carlos Rodon. He pitches in roughly 33 minutes for the first time in a few weeks, a month. How long has it been?
He pitched on Tuesday.
Oh, am I stupid? No, there's
He
a
came
second
back-
pitch back.
He came back against the O's.
His second pitch back. Jesus Christ. Just take me out back already. Carlos Rodon pitches today in about 33 minutes. How are we feeling about the Yankees on this day, August 23rd, 2026?
I mean, Jose Soriano is so good, man. He was in my offseason plan for the Yankees. I was really hoping they would find a way to land him. And then I did not think he would be moved at the deadline. And I was really disheartened by the Jays being able to get him. He's a really good pitcher. Like, he is a tough guy to face. Now, the good thing about Cody Bellinger being back is the Yankees are throwing a lineup that I think has 7 lefties.
Absurd.
At Jose Soriano, which is really nice, particularly because their righties aren't very good, but also he has like decent splits. He's like a 260, 270 WOBA guy versus righties and a 310 versus lefties. So he does get lefties out at a decent clip, but we're talking about like an OPS in the 5s versus an OPS of close to 700. So it's nice that they can throw a bunch of lefties at him. I do think the Blue Jays will be a decently challenging lineup for Chuck to face. But he did do some good things getting swings and misses against righties in his last start in Baltimore. Their lineup probably has some more swing and miss in it than Toronto's does, but we're still at the place for me with Rodon where I want to see him building up, showing off some nice stuff, getting some whiffs, and recovering well. And if that means that he can't go super deep into the game, or some of the contact that they make gets hit hard, which did happen in Baltimore. It was just all the dead center, thankfully. I can live with that. It's really, for me, more than anything about him just being healthy and recovering well and continuing to be available, especially now that that Weathers is hurt.
Yeah, I saw after his last start. Now that I think about it, yes, this is his second start back, and I remember because after his last one, famous Yankee account that may or may not be a woman, posted like, "Oh, Rodon could only go 4.1 innings." He was on a pitch count.
Yeah.
What are we doing? He was on a pitch count.
I was sitting next to a guy at the game who was like, 60 years old, grew up in the Bronx, and was just complaining about the state of modern baseball the entire time. And he was telling me how, pitchers don't throw deep into games anymore. And then he was using Rodon as an example. And I was like, dude, this was supposed to be a rehab start. Like, I don't know what you want for him. They're not letting him throw more than like 60 pitches. So, you do you, but this is not an example of what you're actually thinking about here.
Terrible. If anyone wants to like make an example out of that, they should just, I don't know, watch any Blake Snell full season, because he's the guy that everyone hates. As no matter how good he is, he's giving you 5 innings, walking 35 guys, and striking out the other. Anyways,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here. It was a fun episode. A lot of jokes. A lot of jokes. Hope I like the vibes here with you. If you want to shout out your socials, I never gave you the opportunity to do that in the start here, so if you want to go ahead, shout out your socials.
No, Ken, the pleasure was all mine. It was great to be here. I really appreciate what you're doing for the ball knowing community.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm serious. people can keep up with everything we do at Yankees Files on Twitter or Yankees Files wherever you get your podcasts or youtube.com/at Yankees Files.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, once again, appreciate you being here. This is the Ball Knowers podcast here at Ball Knowers Anonymous. We're all a little addicted to being... Nope, screwed it up. Damn it. Oh, I was on a roll there for a second. We're all a little addicted to something. Me here. I'm addicted to being right. Ladies and gentlemen, go Yankees.